In closed session, the board took action to issue a notice of release of certificated employees pursuant to Education Code Section 44954, effective at the end of the 24-25 school year, and directed the superintendent or designee to send out appropriate legal notices to the following employees: SC 242503, SC 242504, SC 242505, SC 242506, SC 242507, SC 242508. Ma'am? Okay. I'll speak louder. SC 242510, SC 242511, SC 242512, SC 242513, SC 242514, SC 242515. Motion by Dr. Aguilar, second by Mrs. Flores, and motion passed 5-0. In closed session, the board took action to notice of non-reelection to probationary certificated employee identified by employee number SC 242516 pursuant to Education Code Section 44929.21B, effective at the end of the 24-25 school year, and directed the superintendent or designee to send out appropriate legal notices. Motion by Mrs. Flores, second by Mrs. McGuire, and it was motion passed 5-0. Now we'll take us to the Pledge of Allegiance. Dr. Kim.
Thank you, President Peterson. We are here and ready to have Badillo Night with the principal of Badillo Elementary, Ms. Connie Monroe, to introduce the student for the pledge.
Board of Trustees President Peterson, board members, and executive cabinet, it is my pleasure to highlight Badillo this evening, starting with our student for the Pledge of Allegiance, Kalia Rogers. Kalia is our 5th grade student advisory representative. She has done such a wonderful job at bringing ideas to the table, as well as listening to all those around her. She is thoroughly enjoying her time as our rep and being able to meet with other students from around the district. Kalia is one of those students who just gets it. In class, you can look right at her and she will give you a reassuring expression. Kalia takes her time to get her work done carefully. She is great at accepting praise as well as constructive feedback. She will always strive to do her very best. She is there to help her teacher and fellow students. She has been known to peer tutor classmates and never complains about who she sits next to. When Kalia is done with her work, you'll typically find her doing something creative. You will usually see her with some type of a notebook or journal. You may also be able to catch some of her doodles and sketches. She's very funny and will make you smile and laugh. Kalia is a wonderful big sister, even though she will voice her opinion on those feelings. She has been a talented participant and one of our closing acts for at least the last 2 talent shows. Last year, she performed a really creative song about all the Harry Potter books, and this year she sang a catchy tune from Steven's Universe. When Kalia is not at school or busy with her siblings, you will often find her drawing or playing with Legos, and to know Kalia is to love her. She is such a wonderful student, friend, and just overall amazing human being.
Okay, that takes us to our partner in education, Dr. Kim.
All right, once again,
That's actually the superstar student.
correct, yeah. We'll start first with a superstar student, and of course, another favorite part of our board meetings is to recognize a partner in education. So back to Principal Monroe.
Okay, now that takes us to our partner in education.
Please, Dr.
Kim.
Monroe.
This evening, I would like to honor Lori Prince. When it comes to generosity, Lori Prince sets the gold standard. Her kindness knows no limits. No favor is too big or too small when it comes to supporting staff, families, and especially our students. Lori is the ultimate hostess with the mostest, whether it's a PTA event, classroom party, district meeting, or staff appreciation. She brings warmth, joy, and a special touch to every gathering. But her heart doesn't stop there. If she overhears a need, she doesn't just listen, she takes action. From personally funding Mrs. Claus reading to classrooms, to gifting Disney ears to hundreds of our students for Disney Day, to ensuring every child has a holiday gift, Lori's generosity shines brightly across Padillo and the entire Charter Oak Unified School District. Her contributions are immeasurable, her kindness unmatched, and her impact everlasting. Thank you, Lori, for being a true champion of our school community.
All right, we're going to move on to item number 9, student representative report. Logan. Go ahead, sir.
Badillo's sixth grade March Madness champions. A huge congratulations to Badillo's incredible sixth grade March Madness champions. This talented squad played with heart, kindness, and unbeatable teamwork to take home the title. A special shout out to the amazing coaches Greg Batillo, the beloved school psychologist by day and dedicated coach by game time, poured his heart into these kids. And let's not forget the awesome parent coaches who showed up every day ready to give back and inspire our young athletes. From seasoned players to first-time ballers, this team came together like magic. But the best part, it wasn't about the players. The entire Badillo family railed behind them. Cheerleaders, students from all grade levels, and even past Badillo alumni currently attending Royal Oak came out to support. The energy was electric. Way to go, Panther champions. Your hard work and sportsmanship made this March Madness unforgettable. Badillo Steam inactive. Badillo is powering up as a STEAM school. Exciting things are happening at Badillo Elementary. Every student is diving into the world of computer science with the support of our amazing sixth grade Badillo Tech team. Students are coding their way to success using Cephiro, IndyCard, Dash robots, Ozobots, and Bloxels. From our youngest learners exploring coding with color mats to the oldest students designing their own games. Every grade level is building skills that connect to academic standards and bring STEM learning to life. And the best part, we're gearing up for an action-packed 2025 to 2026 school year filled with more fun, hands-on computer science activities for all TK through 6th grade students. The future is bright at Badillo. Let's go coding. Arrow Student Board Report. Mr. President and members of the board, here's my report. Model Continuation School. Arrow High School was granted Model Continuation High School. We are so proud to hold this title and happy that our amazing school is being recognized by the Model School Program. Open House. Arrow High School will be hosting Open House on March 27th at 6 p.m. Families will be able to visit the art showcase that same night to see the art their students have created. They will be able to tour classrooms and visit the new Sunflower Resource Center. Resource Center and Community Liaison. Our Resource Center is now open. We have Miss Nadia, our new Community Liaison, is in charge of it. Community members can donate clothing, pantry food items, and other items to the Resource Center. The Resource Center will provide these necessary items to Sunflower families in need. There will also be family workshops at the Resource Center and referrals to community service. The Resource Center will be open during back to school night for all to visit and see what is offered there. Student Incentive Day. Arrow High School will be having Incentive Day on March 19th. It will be an ice cream sundae bar. All students who received green report cards and 90% attendance on their first progress report of the second semester will be able to attend. Spring break. At the end of the month, we will be celebrating spring break. I hope you all have a healthy and happy spring break. Thank you for letting me give my report.
All right, Logan, thank you, and I know you got homework to do, so you're free to go, sir. Thank you for your time. And that goes with anybody else who feels they should leave now. It's a good time to leave, so you don't have to wait the whole time. Thank you. Have a good day, guys. Good night. Okay, that'll take us to item number 10, the ROP report. Mr. Rose?
Thank you, Mr. President. At the San Gabriel Valley OLP, lots of things going on there. First of all, I would hand in with the 2025, the Brown Act Handbook, really new. And I recommend Dr. Kim to provide this to the board and the rest of this board. Hopefully, it's brand new, 2025 Brown Act Handbook. It's pretty good. That's one thing I got from East Gabriel ROP. Another thing we talk about strategic planning for the next few years or so to create a new vision for the San Gabriel Valley ROP. So the administrative there are now working on that. Get back to the board with more information, what the plan will look like in the next few years or 5 years, whatever. I can't remember exactly what number of years, but I think between 3 to 5, I would think. So that was going on there. And then the last information is that they had a meeting Monday morning, which I was not available because I have work. But they presented the second interim report to the board. I haven't got that information yet. I apologize that because I think the information is critical because funding is very limited at that level, at the San Gabriel Valley OP. Hopefully that I will get that information in the next board meeting about the second interim report. Back to you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Rose. We'll move on to presentations. Item number 12, Dr. Kim. Oh, no. How about the superintendent report first? Item number 11.
Thank you, President Peterson. I'm glad you didn't forget about me. It's my pleasure to talk a little bit and share about really great things highlighting occurring in our school district. Logan was just here and he mentioned spring is around the corner and a spring break, a much deserved one for all of our great folks that are servicing our kids, from our classified folks, our teachers, our counselors, our certificated employees. Well deserved, a timely break, but also important to note that it's that season as we're nearing the end of the school year. Right? And as we think about the end of the school year, we think about the promotions and the celebrations and, of course, the graduations that we're going to have for all of our 12th graders here. So exciting times, exciting work ahead. One of the things that I'm really proud of what's continuing to occur across our district is collaboration. And we shared with this board before that collaboration truly is a key driver to improving student outcomes. And so up and across through the past several months, under the direction of our Educational Services Department, we've had collaboration across elementary school teachers, across subject area teachers in the secondary schools. And it's really powerful when teachers are coming together, learning together, dialoguing together, and growing together as professionals to grow in their practice. And so really proud of that work that's happening across our district. I'd be remiss if I didn't share a really neat collaboration that we've collectively come together with in partnership with our leadership from CSEA, with COEA, and with our district leadership. And we didn't have a great name, so what we call this is the Big Team Meeting. And this big team, we came together earlier this month, and we asked ourselves some really deep questions around what do we value in our district as it's reflected in our local control and accountability plan. And we had a really deep discussion and dive around what is our trends or data look as it relates to our our enrollment. And from there, we started examining what does our current fiscal outlook look? What's budgeted? What's in there? We're going to have an opportunity to hear from Ms. Branford in a moment within second interim in that report. And so what's going to occur later in this month is as well an ongoing discussion around working together to address what we know is not happening from the state, meaning we're not fully being funded for the needs we have in our school district. And henceforth, knowing what we are receiving in revenue, how do we make sure we are not maintaining what's referred to as a structural deficit, meaning we're spending more money than we're receiving from the state. And so we have to work together to make sure we address that and we have a positive outlook moving forward. That's clearly one of our pillars for success. It is financial responsibility. It is making sure that we are working together and not alone. That in and of itself is one area, along with monitoring what's happening across federally, right? And as we've heard some news recently, we're monitoring what potential impacts are happening on K-12 schools as it relates to federal actions. One of those considerations is making sure that we are seeing and not advocating for ourselves as it relates to not losing any federal funds that come our way for our most at-risk or at-promise students, along with our students with disabilities. So again, those are things that we're continuing to monitor. I just appreciate the good work that's happening across our schools. I appreciate the collaboration that's happening amongst our leaders from our labor unions, and we look forward to continue doing that work. So with that, concludes my report.
Thank you, Dr. Kim. Now we'll do presentations. Dr. Kim.
All right. As I shared previously, at this point of the year, every year we have in March our second interim financial report that is later going to be brought for your consideration as an action item. Ms. Branford is going to share key highlights that's reflected in that report and give an update as it relates to our fiscal status here in Charter Oak Unified. Ms. Branford.
Thank you, Eric. So this is basically, it's a continuous cycle. We never stop doing budgets. And so I just wanted you to have an overview of that. This slide shows the assumptions that we use to project this budget. And so the statutory COLA for this year has not changed. But looking at our 25-26 fiscal year, you can see that we were projecting a 2.93% COLA. It is now at 2.43, which is a 0.5% lower than we had projected at the adopted budget, as well as the first interim. And that's as of January, the governor's budget. On the 26-27 year, we're seeing a little bump, almost a 0.5%. That's a good thing, 3.52%. Our enrollment is showing a little bit of a bump. Again, I always speak to our TK trends expansion, and that we're seeing a little bit of a bump because of our TK. And so we are capturing those numbers and kind of keeping the projections flat across the years. Our UPP percent is our unduplicated pupils. We're typically around 70% for the last few years. And so we see a little bit of an increase, and we hope that will continue, because that's really how we get our supplemental and concentration funds. Our funded ADA, however, is showing a decline. As I stated, we're not growing, but then we are losing attendance. And so this fiscal year, 24-25, we are actually benefiting from the hold harmless years. And so this is actually the last year that we will see some benefit from those higher ADAs. And so looking into the out years, as we continue to decline, our ADA will decline, which means we're losing funding. Other set of assumptions speaks to our pension costs, CalSTRS and CalPERS. CalSTRS has stayed flat, which is good. It's been 19.1% for some time. CalPERS tends to go up and down, and we can see that we're showing a little bit of savings in the 2 out years. And our lottery numbers have stayed steady. This slide shows a big picture for total general fund. So this is both the unrestricted and restricted combined. The general fund is our major operating fund. At the first interim, and I'll compare first interim to second interim, our revenues went up a little over $2 million, and our expenditures actually went down about $300,000. So we're seeing some decline in our deficit spending. We went from 10.9 million deficit spending to now 9 million deficit spending. The components of the ending fund balance, so of the 9.5 million, which is the ending fund balance, 4.6 million of that is actually restricted ending balances. So those belong to our categorical programs. And after meeting our 3% reserves, our supplemental and concentration carryovers, we do see an increase over first interim. So at first interim, we were looking at 732,000 as our ending fund balance, or fund balance that is available, to now 1.8 million. Okay, so still speaking on the revenues, at first interim, we talked about increases in special education. And so we did a lot of analysis and deep dives into the increases in special education. And while those expenditures did not go away, we were able to shift some of those expenditures into restricted programs, as well as back into the unrestricted, because of the funding sources for some of our staff. And so we were able to recover some of the contribution at second interim. So we went from $4.5 million in deficit spending to now $3.3 million, which is good. We're making progress. And so because of that, we're able to see some increases in our available fund balance. So from $700,000 to 1.8 million. Our 25-26 fiscal year, across the years, we're spending more than our revenues. We're projecting 48.6 million, but we're spending 52.5. And the same goes for 26-27. Our expenditures are 53 million, but our revenues are 49 million. And so just looking at the deficit spending, it continues to be almost $4 million. 25-26, however, we are only showing 1.1 million as our ending fund balance, which is not enough to meet the 3% reserves. And so the same projection happened at first interim. However, we've made a little bit more progress. We were showing a little over $2 million as the shortfall that we will need to meet the $3 million and the 3% in 25-26. Now it's 1.6 million. And that's because of all the things that we were able to do in terms of reducing the contribution. We brought in some more revenues, and so now we need 1.6 million. And again, that's if we do nothing. If we don't reduce our expenditures, we'll actually need to draw on our special reserve fund, which is our Fund 17. We'll need to bring in 1.6 million. Looking at the 26-27 year, same. However, ending fund balance is actually negative 2.7. We don't have enough money for the 3% reserves. And so what that means, we'll now have to draw further on our special reserve fund, $5.5 million. The restricted side of the books is basically revenues matching expenditures, unless there is fund balance. And as you can see, 24-25, they do have some fund balance falling out. The same for 24-25. And so going to 26-27, basically revenues match our expenditures. As you know, we have other operating funds in the district, and so starting with our adult education, we have cafeteria fund, we have our capital facilities fund, capital projects fund, and as you can see, they're all showing positive ending fund balances. Our ongoing considerations, as I stated, we are seeing a little bump in our enrollment, but ADA attendance is still down. We're looking at from 96 to 97 attendance in the past prior to COVID, and now we're looking at about 94%. So we are definitely seeing lower attendance, and that's absolutely affecting our revenues. We're seeing lower COLAs, but hopefully if the economy stays strong, then we'll see higher COLAs in the future. Our one-time federal funds have all expired as of September 30, 2024. We have some state funds, but those are set to expire in 2027. We're seeing, as I mentioned, rapid increases in special education and therefore erosion of our fund balances. We've also seen increases in insurance premiums due to AB 218, and we continue to have capital facilities needs which we need to address. And at this point, and as we keep deficit spending or not meeting our reserves, LACO is requiring that we have a board-approved fiscal stabilization plan, which we did one at the first interim. Our next steps will be the public hearing of our 25-26 proposed budget and LCAP, as well as the approval. That concludes my presentation. I'll be happy to answer your questions.
Do you have any questions?
Hi, thank you so much for this report. It's always very thorough and easy to understand. I do have a question about Fund 17. Can you share with me like the balance, the uses, things of that nature?
So on my multi-year projection, I did show interfund transferring from our special reserve fund, which is Fund 17. So Fund 17 is basically an extension of the general fund, and we can choose to put additional funds as I would like to call it, a rainy day fund. So that is for fiscal stabilization. And so when we put those funds in Fund 17, it was due to the land sale monies, and the board, you approved that this will be for our fiscal stabilization. So there will come the time when we need to use those funds, and this is the time. So right now the balance is roughly 8 million. There's 5 million from the land sale. And previous to that, you had also authorized funds set aside for technology upgrades infrastructure, as well as teacher laptops, Chromebooks. So those funds were authorized by you to be set aside for times of need, and this is the time.
Thank you.
I think if I can add, one important note about just that Fund 17 or the land sale money that we often refer to, it's one time. And so what's interesting to note here is that that is helping to make sure that, if I'm saying this correctly, for us to pay the bills, to have our minimum required reserves by law in order for us to meet our reserves and also pay all the operational costs that we have, we're having to bring that into the budget. At some point, once you spend it, it doesn't come back to us. And therefore, you have this ongoing impact in years out.
Thank you.
Any more questions, Jeanette?
Thank you, Ms. Bramford. Wonderful information, as always, very thorough. Do your numbers account for a potential loss in federal funds?
Not at this time, no.
So we may need to also dip into,
Absolutely.
Fund 17,
We
we don't
don't
know
have
what's-
enough information right now,
Right.
but as we develop the new budget, we'll probably have more information, because then the governors may revise, will give us more information on that.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Rose?
Pull from it each of the years.
Okay, I have a question. When the board approved the 7.1% pay increase last year, it costed this about $4.2 million.
If I remember correctly, yes, somewhere around there.
Yeah, around there. I recall that number. That kind of add to the budget, and we got to find the money for the next 3 years.
Yes, because it's ongoing, so yes, it impacts the out years as well.
All right, so we have money. I don't know where we got the 4.2 for this year to cover our budget. Am I right?
Say that again?
What I'm saying is that we found the funds to cover 4.2 million for this fiscal year, but not 26, 27, 28 yet, right?
Well,
Is that included to it?
it's already built into the budget, but in order for us to meet the reserves, we're pulling on the one-time funds. So we're pulling in our special reserve funds, which are one-time. That's the only reason we're able to meet the 3% in the 2 out years.
Gotcha. I understand that. The board approved the 7.1 pay increase. We also submit AB 1200 form to the
Yes.
county.
Yes.
The county look over the form, and they only approve when we meet the 3% reserve. Correct.
Correct.
They're not looking at the money down the line. They don't look at the 3-year plan, do they?
They look at the 3-year plan, absolutely.
And I recall looking at AB 1200 form. I noticed that page 4, I believe, the county demand that if there's a deficit in the report, how are we going to solve this?
Yes, if you're deficit spending and it's a high percentage, they do want a stabilization plan.
And they're very strict about that, right?
Yes.
So if we don't meet the demand, then they will tell us how we're going to handle the budget, include cuts.
Well, they don't tell us cuts, but we have to find those cuts. We have to make those decisions. So if we're not meeting our reserves or we are deficit spending at a high percentage, we have to make the decisions about the things that we will do to fix that.
Right, because I read the report, and there are the deficits in there, and
Yes.
and I noticed on page 4 you mentioned what action the board will take to meet the
the
budget,
reserves.
and the county approved it.
Yes.
Again, thank you. Back to you.
Just one question. Would the county approve or give us a positive certification without that land sale money?
Well, if we didn't have those funds, we would be filing either qualified certification or negative certification. Negative certification has major implications about ongoing how we will continue business. And so we will become an ongoing concern, meaning that we may not be able to serve our students. And so the state and the county would step in. You're welcome.
Hi, Ms. Bradford, thank you. Can you speak a little bit to the fiscal stabilization plan that was submitted with the first interim and some of the highlights or some of the items there that were being looked at?
Okay, if I remember correctly, we were had a plan to reduce about a little over $1 million in expenditures next year, and then the following year, about $1.5 million. We were also asked if we foresee any extra revenues coming in. We have a little bit of lease revenues, use of facilities, not a whole lot, but based on the projections in terms of the reduction, it would greatly help us because $1 million this year kind of equates to $2 million the following years. And so it has that impact as you go in the out years. So if you cut this year, it helps the following year. And so $1 million next year and $1 million the following year would reduce our deficit greatly. And so at the time, we were submitting about $2.5 million over the next 2 years.
Dr. Aguilar, if I may add, a part of the work that we've begun, even dating back to several years ago, but obviously we have a cycle where we look at enrollment projections, and it comes through our Student Services Department. They do a great job of really analyzing the data. And then from there, using what we refer to as enrollment-based staffing. So making sure that we have appropriately based staffing for our school sites based on the enrollment at those school sites. So making sure we're working on our contract languages. We're not necessarily overstaffing our schools per se, but making sure we're following within those rules and staffing our schools appropriately.
Thank you.
All right, any further questions? Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
All right, that'll take us to our next presentation on ethnic studies. Dr. Kim.
All right, we're really excited about this next presentation and really proposals to this board on several ethnic studies courses that have been designed, created by our own teachers through input across their community. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Mustafa to talk a little bit about these courses.
Thank you, Dr. Kim. Good evening, Board President Peterson, Vice President Dr. Aguilar, Board of Trustees, members of the community. It is my distinct pleasure to talk to you about our ethnic studies course proposals this evening. But let's kind of briefly remind ourselves about why we are here with ethnic studies. Back in October of 2021, Assembly Bill 101 was passed. And what does that mean? It means that beginning with the school year 25-26, school districts in California must offer an ethnic studies course. Additionally, students, the graduating class of 2030 must take an ethnic studies course to graduate. So we are here today. So the process, over the last 2 years, we've established a committee and we've met with the committee and community members to discuss ethnic studies and what that looks for us here in Charter Oak. We've developed a shared understanding of what ethnic studies is, a shared vision, a district lens, a perspective of what that means for us. We looked at demographic data of who we serve here in Charter Oak, who our students are, and what would be meaningful to our students, and that really guided our courses that was developed, also looking through our model curriculum. I have the distinct pleasure of working with most of our teachers sitting in the audience here today, but today I'm gonna bring up 2 teachers who worked endlessly in creating courses for our students in ethnic studies, who are gonna give you a brief overview of the courses that we're proposing this evening. So it's my pleasure to bring up Raymond Chung and Nicole Pedrogi up to the podium, and they're gonna briefly give you an overview. Raymond Chung's gonna give you an overview of his course first, and then Nicole Pedrogi will give you an overview of her course. I'll briefly talk about next steps, and then we'll open it up for questions.
Good evening, President Peterson, Vice President Dr. Aguilar, members of the Board of Trustees. I'm really excited to share our course proposal for ethnic and social impact studies. Before I want to dive into specifics, though, I want to share a little bit of the lodestars guiding the development of a course that we hope to act as a connection to cultural heritage to community action. And the first is optimistic pedagogy. Much like MLK's belief that the arc of history is long, but it bends towards justice, the course maintains an optimistic perspective as we explore complex histories. And while we're going to acknowledge past challenges, we have a purposeful focus on stories of resilience and how those challenges are overcome. Secondly, of course, we want the course to reflect our student population. The curriculum celebrates the diverse culture represented in our student community. Students will see themselves and their histories reflected in what they study, while also gaining insight into the experiences of others. Third is engagement. This is a required course for graduation, but we've designed the course to be interesting and engaging for students through project-based learning, collaborative discussions, and opportunities for students to learn how they might affect change in their own world. So this is our course overview. The course combines two academic disciplines of ethnic studies and social psychology in a harmonious way that hopefully results in a course that is more impactful together than they would be separately. In the ethnic studies component, we examine the cultural heritage, resilience, and social movements of diverse ethnic communities and how they've contributed to American society. The social psychology framework helps us understand how individuals and groups interact and how social change actually happens. And through these two lenses, students will develop both historical knowledge as well as the analytical tools for understanding contemporary issues. We have the course structured in 2 acts. Act 1 comprises of stories of resilience, where we will explore those histories of diverse communities, focusing on how they persevere through challenges and made their mark on American history. The ethnic studies model curriculum focuses on 4 core groups: Native Americans, African Americans, Asian and Pacific Islanders, and Latino Americans. So we'll be going through the history of those groups. The last unit of Act 1 focuses on Latino American history and actually uses the impact of Mexican American educator Sal Castro and the birth of the Chicano movement as examples of both stories of resilience, as well as examples of what we will learn in Act 2, with the theme of the power of agency. That part of the course builds upon the historical foundations and examines how both individuals and communities have created change through various social movements. More importantly, students will investigate the factors involved in how movements succeed and apply that learning to issues that are important to them. Finally, the course culminates in student-led projects where students apply social psychology principles through a community impact project where students identify and address an issue in their own community through the creation of a potential action plan that creates meaningful change. The other option is a social research paper, where students will analyze either a historical or contemporary social movement and identify how social psychology affected the success or failure of that movement. We're considering 2 proposed texts for our course, which is Ronald Takaki's A Different Mirror for Young People and Elliot Aronson's The Social Animal for the social psychology component. These will, of course, be supplemented with primary sources and other multimedia resources. So this is a standalone course with no prerequisites. It will open to students in grades 9 through 12. It can be offered as either a semester-long or year-long elective, depending on our scheduling needs. And as a college prep elective, it will meet the UCG requirements. So I'm really excited about this program, the potential of this course to give our students a more in-depth understanding of both history and their own agency in creating a better future for the next generation.
Did I turn this off? Sorry, I think I turned the screen off. There we go. Hi!
Hi. So Ray and Feroz both did an incredible job prefacing what is an ethnic studies course and what the requirements are from the state. So I'm going to jump into what we're actually doing in my course, in my class. So we have Latino pop culture, and this is actually an interdisciplinary arts course. So we found other UC-approved interdisciplinary arts courses where students in high schools are learning a little bit about visual art, a little bit about dance, a little bit about music, a little bit about theater. And so I took that same framework and applied it specifically to our Latino group. The framework from the state says that you can teach an ethnic studies course on all 4 ethnic groups, or you can actually focus down on one. It's free to meet the needs of your community. So with Charter Oak being 67% Latino, I figured this would be a great way for our kids to see themselves reflected in art and see themselves making connections with what they're seeing at home and in their families and their own communities and bring it into the classroom. So the class is going to focus mostly on looking at how Latinos are portrayed in the media and how we're portrayed in film, how we're seeing ourselves reflected in music. There's going to be a lot of focus on the historical context and social cultural factors that have shaped Latino art and what has come in as influences for people everywhere, ranging from Lalo Guerrero, who was a mariachi artist back in the 1940s, who was using Chicano slang in his mariachi music, which he was a revolutionary for that, all the way up to Bad Bunny and what he's doing right now, trying to revolutionize salsa music for his generation, because he realized a lot of millennial and Gen Zs don't know how to dance salsa anymore. So he's trying to bring that back in. Looking at creative expression, cultural impact, so how this collides with all other facets of our own students' lives, and then creative expression. So it's really, really focused on hands-on projects for the kids because it primarily, more than anything, is an arts class. So there's very minimal writing. Obviously, there will be written assessments, but really the focus is on letting them have creative expression. So some of the things that we're going to be studying specifically, again, looking at Latino filmmakers and playwrights like Luis Valdez and his revolutionary work with Zoot Suit, but we're also looking at plays like In the Heights, which I know a lot of you are familiar with because we've done it twice now in our community and they loved it. Also made famous by the same writer of Hamilton, film and media like Jane the Virgin, or The Longest Yard, which is a film about students in the 1940s who were Latino and wanted to be the first ever Latino golf team down here in Southern California. Lots of great media that is represented for our culture. And then engaging in discussions about those. And then every student, even though it is written as Latino pop culture, I've had students already approaching me at school, well, I'm not Latino, can I take the class? Of course you can. It's just the framework for the class. The projects that they're turning out are reflective of their own experiences. So even though we're looking at Latino playwrights, they're gonna turn around and talk about their own experiences as an Asian student, or as a white student, or as an African-American student. So it's open for everybody on our campus and their own experiences. It's targeted to grades 9 through 12. We may tailor it down if it becomes really popular and we have to, limit it to 1 or 2 age groups just to get everybody through. It's written as a year-long standalone course, and in addition to fulfilling the ethnic studies course requirement, we're hoping it will also fulfill a visual arts credit, so kids are knocking 2 things out at once with their A through G requirements. Again, focused on hands-on projects, media arts, so students are going to be making short films, we're going to be making podcasts, anything that really has a creative focus, the students are going to have some kind of project that they're turning out with it. And then again, opportunities for community engagement and storytelling. At the end, we are hoping to be able to do a community showcase where the students get to show off all of the work that they did throughout the year. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Raymond and Nicole. So our next steps, we want to continue to share information and gather feedback from our school and our community members. We seek board approval at our next board meeting, April 17th. We would like to obviously put this for course registration for our students to be able to register for courses next school year, provide our instructors the resources and allocations to get their courses up and running, have ongoing development and explorations of integrated courses for master scheduling purposes, and last but not least, update our board policy with graduation requirements. That concludes our presentation, so we are open for questions.
Any questions?
Just one comment. Thank you. This is wonderful, and we're excited to have this come to our students. So thank you for your hard work, and I'm looking forward to coming to your classes and seeing some of the projects. So thank you.
You knew I had something to say.
You always say that. That goes without saying.
I was over here trying to compose myself because I think I'm getting old because I feel like I'm tearing up. Hold on. I'm so blessed and I feel so honored to be on the board. Hold on.
Don't make me cry.
It's just so important for students to be able to see themselves in their coursework. And I just feel really honored that I get to sit here and consider this for all of the students. This is stuff that I never got to experience in K-12. And I want to come sit through the classes next year. Like, I'll take the classes. I'm very happy about these courses. I think you guys have done an amazing job. I can see all the love and care that went into creating this. And thank you.
Mr. Rose.
Thank you. I have a question about the core textbooks. Two book, the committee recommend the two textbooks, the different mirror and the social animal. And I did take a look at it, look at the reference, and pro cons from the community itself. Now, is this book recommended by the state, or the community select the textbook?
The course doesn't have any textbook recommendations at this time, so it's kind of up to us to look at what's out there. These are appropriate for the age group. A different mirror for young people is geared towards high school age. A social animal is a little bit higher. It could be considered a lower level college textbook. And we're not going to probably use the majority of it. We're going to take selections from that textbook.
Yeah, I'm aware of the social animal, and yeah, it's most likely a college textbook. Yeah, and
Social psychology, unfortunately, there's not a lot of offerings for high school level textbook-wise.
I understand. Is there any other textbook that you plan to use for the curriculum other than these two? You're going to add. I know that you're going to add the supplemental textbook as well.
Yes, influenced by Robert Cialdini is also a supplementary textbook we were considering as well.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. I'm sorry for my tardiness. I thought it was next week, but as a 12th grade senior, I'm very jealous, but I'm very excited for the next classes to have this experience, to have like representation and like historical content in the classrooms. And Ms. P, you're very special to me, so I'm just really excited for you that you really had this opportunity to do this, and I'm excited for the course.
I want to just basically say how impressive it is that our teachers on campus are developing courses. That says a lot about what we're about, what you're about. To be able to manage your classes and develop a new course is just incredible. So thank you. Thank you very much.
Well, I want to know how Nicole finds time to do this.
I know, I don't, yeah.
Newsies plus.
We were really fortunate that Danny and Bay Rose started the process really early for us, so they were able to give us a good heads up and really give any teachers who were interested in developing the course plenty of time and plenty of heads up. I think it's better to have the notice than to be caught off guard and be scrambling and copy pasting a district from a curriculum from another district that might not meet the needs of what our kids want. So thank you two for getting the ball going early, because I think that made it easier for Ray and I to get started on what we needed to get started on.
I think it's also easier since we're both so excited to teach these courses. It helps when we're developing. It's actually really exciting to be able to have this opportunity.
And I think to that end, I actually want to commend you guys both for your hard work and your excitement that you're clearly displaying. I mean, you guys are chomping at the bit to get some students in there and pilot these curriculums. So that's really exciting. Do we have an idea of students enrolling in these courses 25, 26, they, let's say they are freshmen, let's say, so then in what year they will graduate would be 29,
2030.
right? 2030 would be their
29,
graduation?
20, yeah, 2030 is their graduating year if they're a freshman next year.
I think it's 29, right?
20, if they enter 25, 26.
Yeah, so I think it's 29. So it won't
Is it
be
2029?
technically required yet for them.
Until 2030.
Yeah. Seventh graders are. Okay, so graduating class of 2030. Thanks. Graduating class of 2030 is when it's actually required, right?
Yes.
Okay. So is there kind of a target number of students that we would be considering or wanting to see in these courses starting, for next academic year, even though it's not required yet for their graduation?
Great question, Dr. Aguilar. As you know, master schedule is driven by student interest. And so being that our high school is a single high school district and we have a lot of electives and VAPA courses, it is really dependent on how many kids and how we are able to sustain the high school master schedule. So we're trying to start early so we can kind of build up that, the teachers with their hard work and get the word out there so they can really market their classes.
If I may add, a part of the challenge, the good challenge that we have is that these are great electives, and these are new electives. We have obviously a slew of great electives for our kids, choices. And so part of the ongoing work, and Dr. Mustafa talked about this before, is that we need to continue thinking about what other additional courses, specifically integrated courses into our existing academic ones that we can continue to build over the course of the years. That way there's not too many elective choices, and now it impacts what kids or what we can potentially offer. And for the record, I am a fan of Bad Bunny, so I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Nicole, how'd you manage to get Bad Bunny in a presentation?
Interestingly enough, he's a lot more cerebral than I think people think he is, and I think because a lot of his lyrics are in Spanish, it's easy to just tune out what he's saying in his lyrics, but he talks a lot about his homeland, he talks a lot about his motherland. But the way that it integrates into the course is we would have a unit on Latino music, we would be talking about salsa music and where the salsa rhythms came from, and salsa rhythms actually originated with something that's called the clave. It's that beat, which actually has its roots in Africa and Western Africa. So it's talking about the diaspora of how did Latino people come to adapt and integrate something like that within their own culture, and then going and looking at also other salsa artists and their roots within all of that. So yeah, so Bad Bunny is just the tail end of this really long line of incredible music history for Latino people.
Awesome, and A through G also, right?
Yes, and it's A through G, so it would be knocking out a college requirement for the students.
Thank you. Any further questions? No. Thank you both. We appreciate all the hard work.
I would just like to end by also echoing the board's sentiments by really congratulating Nicole and Raymond for all your hard work. It's been an absolute pleasure to work alongside you and see your passion come to fruition. So thank you.
All right, that'll take us to public comments. Mr. Polzin?
Start? Okay. Neil Polzin, he, him. Thank you, trustees. 3 weeks ago, the school district sent me a response to the public information request. Presumably, many of the documents the district already had in its possession. 2 weeks ago, I went through and commented on those and sent those to members of this board. Many, once again, of these rules are simply not being followed for the hate church that's currently renting Charter Oak. Going down the list, any use of school facilities for non-school use purposes shall comply with state and local fire, health, and safety laws. Still blocking fire exits, still blocking fire poles, still operating generators next to buildings. All requests for school use premises shall be denied where the proposed use is inconsistent with the proper and regular use of the facilities. As we can see, the regular use of the facilities for all of the examples above are not being used and should be denied. No altercations or additions may be made to any district buildings or grounds without first obtaining a written consent from the officials of the chief business official or the Office of the Chief Business Official, is the responsibility of the organization to return the facility or grounds to its original condition. No such document or written permission was provided in the documents, and yet modifications are being made. All permits are restricted to the activity, specific areas, and times scheduled on the use application. The organization must see that unauthorized areas are not molested and the premises are vacated as scheduled. They've admitted to banners being out across the campus.
Thank you, Mr. Polson. Bonnie Shockey. Mr. Portillo.
Good evening, y'all. Just so y'all know, I've been coming to these meetings since 1998. Yes. I really came here to say kind words to Dr. Kim. I'm going to be short on that, but I still mean them. Over the years, we've had casual conversations. I appreciate them because I've come to this room and been shunned and been hated. So when you talk about culture and diversity, it has little to do with that. It has to do with being kind, being professional. Now, I've gone off the rails in the last year because I've sat here and the peanut gallery has laughed at me, literally. She has shouted at me, he has shouted at me. So I apologize, Dr. Kim, because I had what I thought was very eloquent, because you have been kind to me. And so as Ike Marosa, and I'm going to tell you about culture. I was born in Inglewood, lived in Florence, went to Florence Elementary School. I remember when my father, I was about 3 years old. I remember the first civil unrest in 1965. I remember my uncles coming to my dad's house. He was a highly trained marksman, and he was handing out weapons. Move forward, I remember the death of Luther. Is coming from not agreeing with somebody's opinion. I'll talk to you some more, Dr. Kim, on a more positive note. I'm really encouraged with what I heard today, because that tells me you're in better hands with people sitting here than some of the policies that over the years have been made by the government, several government. Thank you.
Making a motion to bring forward business services A1, budget revisions and transfers.
So moved?
I'll second the motion.
Call for the vote. Mr. Rose?
For that one? Yes.
Mr. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Flores?
Yes.
Dr. Aguilar?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Ms. Rick?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0 with one student recommended. Takes us to item number 2, 24-25 second interim financial report. We get a motion to bring that forward?
I'll make the motion.
Have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Mr. Rose?
Yeah. I want to make comments about the report here, honestly, I don't like to see that numbers, but in reality, it's coming. So we gotta keep this in mind, what we're dealing with in the next 3 years. Even though our numbers showing reduction in ADA, let me find that information, one moment. I'm trying to do this. The funding for ADA had gone down. I'd like to ask a question, why it had gone down? On page, there's no page number here. Is interim assumption, the number of ADA had gone down.
Page 4, yes.
I'm sorry, there it is. Page 4, I can't see. Page 4. And then,
Yeah, Ms. Branford, if you could explain the funded ADA and how we're operating by in the ensuing years.
Okay, so as you know, we are declining, and not just enrollment is not the only factor that gives us our ADA, it's actually students coming to school. And so our pre-pandemic attendance levels were at 96 to 97%. Now we're at between 92 to 94%. So our average daily attendance it keeps going down, so we are actually declining in attendance. And so, as I stated before, we were funded at a higher level based on our pre-pandemic ADA because we were given a hold harmless. It was approved by the state that we were funded at the hold harmless levels. But as we continue next year, we are actually seeing lower ADAs because we're no longer seeing those higher ADAs as part of our calculation.
Gotcha. And the COLA was, the assumption was 1.07. That is down from the initial assumptions.
It's down significantly for this year. Last year we had a COLA of over 8%, 8.22%. This year we have a COLA of 1.07%. So that's a huge decline, which means loss in revenues.
One more time, the loss of revenue?
Loss in revenues. Yes.
Even with the 1.07%, that's hardly a dent in our budget, right?
It's just a very small dent. Actually, you look at things that happen on the natural, like step and column, health and welfare benefits, contributions to special education. 1.70% is not enough to cover even those initial costs.
Okay. I have another question. CalPERS went up. It was projected on page 5. CalPERS is projected the cost to go up. The reason for the increase of.
Right, so CalPERS does go up and down, and we're actually seeing increases year over year. It's reduced somewhat going into next year, but it continues to be an increase.
I got you. Great, you can ask someone else if they have any questions. I'm looking for one more information.
Anybody else have any questions? No? Mr. Rose, no other questions?
Okay, I'll see what I can do about this information here. The 3 years projection budget shows in the red. And we have to submit the fiscal stabilization plan to the county.
We submitted one at the first interim, and so we'll continue to utilize that stabilization plan.
Oh, they're gonna use the same one we submitted originally?
Yes, because we have not fully implemented all the things that we've recommended that we can do. So we continue to work on those things. And as we get into the development of the 25-26 budget, we will have to implement more of those things.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
My comment is that we are in a time of uncertainty. Uncertainty. We are in a time of uncertainty. We don't know what's going to happen at the federal level. Now, we heard a lot of things happening at the White House and in the Congress. Now they're going after the state of education. Department of Education. That could impact us down the line. We don't know what kind of action the available level gonna take, but we must be prepared for this. We also heard about recession, so that also came up recently. That could impact our budget. I love having intervention teachers in the classroom. I believe they are funded by restricting that being impacted by the federal government. So we were able to keep them. But that if we have to take action to reduce the budget, do we have to take action to cut that position?
Well, that would be conversations with executive leadership and other stakeholders. So then we're still having conversations around the different types of cuts.
Okay. All right, I love having intervention teachers in the classroom. Well, one thing that I said, we face in the future, we face uncertainty at this time, and we need to work together from the board to all the way down to classified position. I strongly believe we can work together and focus on the projected budget and come up with a plan to continue to support our students down the line. This is reality. It is here. I did look at other school districts. They also face a similar situation which we are right now. They are same boat we are at this moment. So let's face reality. This is the time that we need to get everybody together to maintain support to the student, provide service to the student, and keeping every teacher in the classroom. Now, the AB 1200 also show that if we have to make cuts, we will make cuts to balance our budget, which I do not want to make cuts. But if that's the action we need to take, that's down the line. So let's work together from the top to the bottom so that we can take care of our students in the next 3 years. Back to you, President.
Any other questions? No? To echo Mr. Rose, this is reality. And it's something, we're very fortunate that we have a team of leaders who are tackling this now. So we're set when we get to that edge. So I appreciate all the hard work everyone's putting in. With that being said, I'll call for the vote. Mr. Rose?
Yes.
Mrs. McGuire?
Yes.
Mrs. Flores?
Yes.
Dr. Aguilar?
Yes.
Azuri?
Yes.
I'm also a yes. Motion passes 5-0 with one student rep in the affirmative. And then we'll move to item 3, resolution number 101-2425, and we do have a card, Mr. Portillo.
So, in the resolution, I think it's a third whereas, the third citation. So the Rudolph campus is the campus that's being leased off of, over there by Christian School? I'm confused. Off of, Sunrise campus. Okay, okay. So my question is, has any of the work been started? Because it's in disrepair, there's been some immense wind damage, so they're using the property right now still. Are they still housing students there? Here's what I'm gonna cut to the chase because of time. The lease agreement with the organization, is it triple net?
I'm not sure I understand.
Okay, triple net would mean that, I lease the property out, 10 years, I don't have to, as long as I get a check, I don't have to do anything. They're in charge of maintenance because I have noticed over the years, they painted it, they take care of the lawn, and I assume they take care of the plumbing. So That's what in commercial real estate, that is what triple net means. So they assume the responsibility of taking care of the campus. We're gonna have to get back to that. The next question is, when you lease, there's a formula, I don't wanna get into it too much, but you take a percentage of your gross income, always, to negate any negative occurrences. And I'm concerned that we have to go to an emergency resolution for this property, because there should be money have already been set aside for years to take care of and negate any type of, that's what a commercial lease agreement would be. That's a standard situation. And I'm concerned that that hasn't been taken care of. This is gonna be taken care of financially through this resolution, but you need to look towards the future. And whatever properties you're leasing, you have to, at the minimum, take 10% off the top so that these situations can be taken care of on their own. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I get a motion to bring that forward?
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
Dr. Ms. McGuire?
I would love to second.
You would love to second?
Absolutely.
You can second. All right, Dr. Kim, can you give some clarification?
Yeah, I think this is helpful, and Ms. Branford can clarify the purpose of this resolution, and that way we can seek forward for the repairs that are needed.
Sure. So this resolution is required because it's an emergency. The damages were caused through wind damage during the fires. And so the governor did declare an emergency, and because of that, we are able to do an emergency resolution, which means that we can bypass the formal bid process in order to get the work done. And so the county office also sends out a bulletin advising districts that they can take this process if they have a case of emergency and need to do repairs right away. So that's the purpose of this resolution.
Okay, thank you.
So,
Discussion?
yeah, so if I could follow that up with kind of a question then. So this is not related to the source of funds. The funds are funds that have been committed previously. This is more about the timeliness of
The
being able
timeliness,
to
yes.
implement the
And
repairs.
the funds, actually, we are insured, so we are doing this through our insurance company.
Great, thank you.
Any further discussion? Mr. Rose?
I think the thing that you're asking the board approval, like 225,000 for the, something,
For the, somewhere around 230,000.
I mean, is that the number, I mean, there's no bidding because we are using emergency resolution to take care of.
Right, but we did an informal bid, and the insurance requires that we do an informal bid. So we did do that. We received quotes from various contractors, and so the insurance will select the one company that we should use.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? I'll go ahead and call for the vote. Mr. Rose?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mrs. Flores?
Yes.
Dr. Aguilar?
Yes.
Azuri?
Yes.
I'm also a yes. Motion passes 5-0 with one student rep in the affirm. So I'll take us down to action item B, educational services. B1, contract agreement, internet service provider with LACO.
I'll make the motion to bring that.
Second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? No discussion. I'll call for the vote. Mr. Rose?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mrs. Flores?
Yes.
Dr. Aguilar?
Yes.
I'm also a yes. Motion passes. Oh, I'm sorry, Azuri.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0 with one student rep in a affirmative. And that'll take us to item C, human resources. 1, approval of assistant superintendent. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Dr. Kim, do you have a recommendation?
I do have a recommendation. I'd like to recommend Dr. Seth Bond for the position of Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources.
Okay, I'll go ahead and call for the vote. Mr. Rose?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mrs. Flores?
Yes.
Dr. Aguilar?
Yes.
And I'm also a yes. I don't think, Azuri, you can vote on this one,
Right.
but thanks for thinking of it. Motion passes 5-0. Dr. Kim?
Yeah, we're really excited. Thank you for this board for your time and attention to the need of our school district. This is such a critically important position across our district, and going through such a comprehensive recruitment process, we think we found the strongest candidate to help support our needs for our students, our staffs, and our school district. Dr. Seth Bond comes to us with years of experience across K-12 education. He has middle school assistant principal experience. He's been a high school principal at a school that's nearly the size of our entire school district. And he has learned years of in-depth experience to be a quality assistant superintendent in human resources with a depth of experiences where he's currently at. And Dr. Bond, if you don't mind standing up and just so that we can see who you are. And he's brought a cheering squad. It looks like there's some... Thank you.
Congratulations, Dr. Bond. Welcome to the team. Move on to HR C2, approval of employment contract of the assistant superintendent.
So moved.
Second.
I'll second.
All right, any discussion? Mr. Rose?
Yeah, I have a question. The contract contain, hi,
No, you're
Dr.
good.
Kim, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I do want to ask Dr. Kim.
Okay, here, let me read
Oh, sorry.
the reporting compensation per government code, section 54953C3. Pursuant to government code section 54953 subdivision C3, the board provides this oral summary of the salary and/or fringe benefits provided to the assistant superintendent by the way of the pending employment contract. The term of the new employment contract between the district and the Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources, Dr. Seth Bond, is from April 1, 2025 through March 31st, 2028. The new annual salaries to be paid to the Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources is $207,108, Step 8 of the management salary schedule, and the other elements of compensation in the contract includes 24 days of annual vacation, 14 days of sick leave per year, district payment towards a health benefit package in the same amount as other full-time district management employees, and $1,000 per fiscal year for incurred expenses not covered by the health benefit package. Group life insurance in the amount of $50,000 as stated in the management salary schedule. District paid dues for the assistant superintendent's membership dues in the Association of California School Administrators and the other service clubs as approved by the board, and reimbursement for actual and necessary expenses. Mr. Rose, any further questions?
I do have a question. In the contract, was there a clause that say that the superintendent can receive pay raise based on evaluation performance?
Our assistant superintendent's on our fixed salary schedule that has been previously approved by this board, that's publicly reflected.
I don't know if you answered my questions.
He's on the final step of that salary schedule.
I don't understand how that works. Can you?
Asking if he's eligible for raises after we do annual evaluation, or after you do his annual evaluation.
Good question. So what we do with all management is take in consideration any raises that are given across all of our bargaining units. Those would be the ones that are reflected across all management, inclusive of this particular position.
Fine. Then another clause in the contract indicating that he also will receive pay raise based on the pay raise from the certificated employees, correct? From the in the clause there's the.
Correct. That's what I was referring to.
Okay. My comment is that I'm going to have to vote no on this one because I do not believe in getting an automatic pay raise for management position. They make a lot of money, $200,000, over $200,000 a year. I don't understand why they're getting an automatic pay raise. I'm talking about all management here in our district. That's why I keep voting no, because why are we giving them pay raise when they're making quite a bit of money? I prefer that the management position should be getting paid based on valuation performance. I always believe that. That's the way to see if the district can move forward with positive valuation. I take that back. What I'm saying is that I would like to see the superintendent do the job. That's what I believe in. Automatic pay raise, no. So expect me to vote no on this one. Back to you.
Any further discussion? With that being said, go ahead and call for the vote. Mr. Rose?
No.
Mrs. McGuire?
Yes.
Mrs. Flores?
Yes.
Dr. Aguilar?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Motion passes 4-1. Welcome, sir. Again.
President Peterson, can we have Azuri's report now? She has to get home.
Oh, you gotta get home?
And do homework.
Okay.
I mean, I love it here.
Well, can you give me the bottle of water right there? Is that open or not?
The water?
Bottle of water, I need one.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no, I was gonna get that from Logan.
Okay, Azuri, why don't you
Thank
give
you.
us the board report
Okay.
for Charter Oak High School?
Good evening, Mr. President Peterson and Board of Trustees, Dr. Kim, and Executive Cabinet. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share all the amazing things that are happening at CO. So last week, Charter Oak Dance presented their dance show from March 6th through 8th at the H.K. Barrett Theater, and they had an amazing turnout. I went. Other than that, I have no other previous events recorded since our last meeting. Here is my spring sports update. Boys baseball is 2 and 5. Boys tennis is 0 and 1. Girls softball is 1 and 0. And here are some upcoming events. On March 20th, our school is holding a COHS showcase where other students will have the opportunity to see all the amazing things that are happening at COHS and all the programs that we have to offer. Our spring break is March 30th through April 4th. April 9th is our spring rally, and our theme is Carnival. Our prom court will be revealed during this event. Again, tickets are on sale for Charter Oaks Theater Department Spring Musical Newsies that will be showing on April 24th, 25th, May 1st through 2nd. Thank you, and that concludes my report.
Thank you, ma'am, and you can go ahead and get out too. Thank you, Azuri. All right, that'll take us to a consent calendar. Do we need anything pulled? Mr. Rose, you need anything pulled from the consent calendar?
No, thank you.
All right, with nothing being pulled, can I get a motion to approve the consent calendar as written?
I'll make the motion.
Can I get a second?
Second?
Any discussion? I'll call for the vote. Mr. Rose?
Yes.
Mrs. McGuire?
Yes.
Mrs. Flores?
Yes.
Dr. Aguilar?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Motion passes 5-0, which will take us to our board comments. Mr. Rose?
Well, thank you. Thank you. I think we got a good meeting here. I think I believe that the focus we should do is work together and work with the budget within our means so that we can move forward serving our students. I know I said it once, and I would say it one more time tonight. We really need to sit down, talk about it, face reality. We don't know what's going to happen at the federal level. We don't know about our economy. We don't know what's going to happen with the state level. We haven't heard from the May revision yet. That's coming up. I think we need to use common sense. We need to use common sense to work with our budget so that we make the right decision to move forward. I would hate the idea of having Legos tell us Legos say no to this and that. I hate the idea that the state take over it because we don't have the money. As of right now, the way I see the second interim report, all projected. I know it's all projected, but it doesn't look good. It's all red. I see a red flag. I did not see a yellow flag, green flag, orange flag. I see a red flag here at this moment. I see it. And I think this time we all need to settle down, let the dust settle, let's stick together and work out a budget that is fair and adequate, and most important, to support every student in our district. Back to you, Mr. Peterson.
Thank you, Mr. Rose. Ms. McGuire?
I'll try to keep myself composed this time, guys. Sorry about that. I know. So I work in federal policy during the day, and so I've just had a really, really stressful week. I don't know if you guys have heard. So I think I just got overwhelmed with hearing good news for a chance, and I'm just so proud of the district right now and the ethnic studies courses. It is Women's History Month, and every year our state assembly selects women from our assembly district to honor as exemplary women. And here at Charter Oak, we actually had 2 people make the honor. She's actually Roxana, who was misidentified in the invitation, by the way. It says CV USD, so we need to fix that because she's ours. Roxana was honored as, will be honored as Women of the Year at the in-district celebration at March 29th, which I think is a huge accomplishment. And at the state capitol, each assembly office selected one nominee to bring to Sacramento and honor in front of the whole state, and my daughter was the second person. And when we got there, thank you. And when we got there, we also realized and found out that she was actually the youngest person to be honored and the youngest person to ever be honored from this assembly district. And that's the great stuff that comes out of Charter Oak. And I think that's some of the work with Ms. Figueroa, what she does for the students in this community, and what she does to help make sure that our students belong here and feel like they belong here is so important. So courses like these ethnic study courses are really important, not only in our district, but in every district. And especially as things get tight federally, and as the country starts to feel more polarized, we have to remember our core values here in the Charter Oak community, and how we rely on each other and how we work together, and how we always want to just build and make our district better for all of our students. And I just think that's so important. I'm so fearful what's happening in the state of education today, but I feel overwhelmed with joy being here tonight, so thank you.
Ms. Flores?
So I'd like to thank all our educators that are here tonight. Thank you for being here. Most of you have taught my kids or my nieces or nephews. Ms. Chavez, are you there? Ms. Chavez. Thank you. So just thank you for being here this evening. Go Dodgers. We appreciate all that you do for our kids, so thank you. All right, I got you. And also want to congratulate Katie McGuire, who was honored in Sacramento. So big kudos to Katie, who's a senior, and she will be a freshman at Sac State and an assemblywoman in the next 6 years or something, yeah. So big congratulations to her as well. And to Roxana Figueroa, who is really just an angel in our district. She is here to support our students, our vulnerable students, our students that stay under the shadows, our families that are afraid to ask for services. So Roxana is really an angel who continues to support our kids regardless of their status, economic situation, and under the leadership of our amazing Maria Thompson. So thank you again for continuing to support our students. We appreciate all that you do, day after day. So thank you all. Also, make sure you go and see Newsies. Let's support our VAPA programs. Let's support our athletes as well. And let's continue to have a great year. How many days until graduation? Do we know? We're counting down.
Too many.
Counting down. Counting down. So thank you all for what you continue to do. And let's continue to move forward. 49 more days. We're not counting. And welcome, Dr. Bond. Welcome to Charter Oak. Is it Bond, James Bond? How many times have you heard that in your lifetime? So welcome. We look forward to working with you, and welcome to the Charter Oak family. So thank you all.
Dr. Aguilar?
Thank you. Yes, also would like to extend my welcome to Dr. Bond. Welcome to the team. We're looking forward to what you'll contribute to our executive cabinet going forward, supporting all of our staff here across the district. Thanks again to our teachers with their wonderful presentation of the Ethnic Studies course. Absolutely exciting and really showcases the hard work of these amazing teachers, just a small sampling of all of our amazing teachers across the district. Some other amazing teachers recently took over 100 middle schoolers over to Disneyland, the band, the choir, and the theater. down there. They had an amazing time. They were invited to perform in some workshops, and they got some really good development for the students there. But of course, that wouldn't happen without the amazing teachers that push that forward and create that. And our award-winning gold medal band is on its way to Disneyland for spring break. Sorry, wrong place. Even better, Hawaii for spring break. And so they'll be performing there, and that'll be really exciting. I couldn't make it. I have to do my job, but but I wish I could. That would have been awesome. And so just kind of wish them a wonderful trip, and I'm sure they will represent our district really well. All the way in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. That'll be really amazing. And then a quick little science corner for tonight. We do have a total lunar eclipse this evening, in case you weren't aware. If you happen to stay up a little late, you can take a little peek up, and if there hopefully aren't too many storm clouds, it's a total lunar eclipse. That doesn't mean that the moon disappears, unfortunately. Instead, the light scatters around the Earth from the sun. It's in our shadow, but instead you'll get a kind of really cool red hue that they call the blood moon. So I think that starts somewhere around 11 p.m. this evening. Goes into the early wee morning. So if you're up late grading like me tonight, you can enjoy that. Cool. Thank you.
I think we should have a science corner every meeting. Yeah. Dr. Bond, welcome for the third time. We sure have a lot of doctors around here. Doctor. Speaking of doctors, proud dad moment. My middle daughter's graduating with her doctorate in May, and she just got hired as a professor at Arizona State University. So, so I'm excited for her. Yeah, she's yes, ma'am. For now, for another 6 months, then she gets the other dude's name, whatever that is. Congratulations to Badillo on the March Madness victory. You know, and thank you to the Ed Foundation for putting it on. We all know it's for the kids to get out there and interact and compete, but it's really the principals who are out there competing, and you know, no one's more prouder than get to hoist the trophy than Connie. She's gonna be holding it in the quad every Friday, but something.
2 out of 3.
Yeah, 2 out of 3, you know. Yeah. Yeah, and then by being coached by Greg Pilato, go school board member. We like that. Congratulations to Arrow High School on their model continuation school. And I want to echo something Dr. Kim said about the teacher collaboration. I didn't know she was here. I was going to talk about Ms. Chavez. I didn't know she was here. But she's all quiet in the back. Wow. Yeah, my daughter's in her class, and she loves her class. And she had a question about going into the high school. And Mrs. Chavez was communicating with the high school, gave great clarity to my kid, made it easy for her to understand what was needed and what the expectations were. So the collaboration between teachers and the scaffolding process is a fantastic job. Dr. Mustafa, getting that done. We appreciate all the work that how you're leading all of our staff and getting them to work together. And so they complement each other as the grades, the kids increase their grades. With that, I do believe we are done. Our next meeting is going to be April 17th, 2025. No need for closed session, and we are adjourned at 8:37. Yeah.